Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Hillier, independent film director and president of the ECU Film Festival Group, which encompasses 4 film festivals on 4 continents: Europe, Asia, Americas, and Africa. Welcome to another ECU Friday Live, where we discuss things all good and great in the independent filmmaking world. And today we're going to go on something which I'm finding very, very interesting and frontier breaking, actually. And we've got 3 amazing filmmakers here. 4 amazing filmmakers now. Mark's just joined us. 4 amazing filmmakers to discuss this sort of revolution. And I don't use that word lightly, because as a filmmaker who's older than dinosaurs, I've seen a few revolutions, as in going from film to tape, tape to digital. I still will never forget the first time I did a match frame edit on an Avid system, and I went, you don't have to put the 2 pictures and the person opens his lip at the same time and push the in button. That was a revolution for me as well. I'm going to do something which I very rarely do on this, but I'm going to give a little bit of a spiel that I've been working on this morning, just to sort of place us a little bit about where we are in this, Scott Hillier mini revolution. But artificial intelligence has rapidly become one of the most significant creative tools available to filmmakers, indie filmmakers in particular. Hollywood debates its ethics and legal implications, where some independent creators have just jumped it and grabbed it by the collar and become very pragmatic. Many say it's not as a replacement for filmmaking, but as a way to overcome the traditional barriers of budget, time, and manpower. Is this true or false? Now, that's what we're going to discuss today. And just from my point of view, it's still in the industry very much so. I can see it being integrated into every stage of production. During development, people use it for refining screenplays, character biographies, and generating pitch documents. Pre-production, producing storyboards, shot lists, location visualizations, like in the snap of a finger. On set, thank goodness for people who like being on set, AI's influence is more subtle from what I can see, because cameras, lighting, and directing remains deeply human. Post-production, editing. I've spent a lot of time sitting in an edit chair, but now it just seems that you can do music generation, sound design, subtitle, clean up dialogue, all at the click of a button. One thing that we're finding very interesting here as the runner of 4 film festivals is the emergence of AI native filmmaking. Films being made solely on Runway, Pika, Veo, Midjourney. They're appearing everywhere. And this is where we feel that we have a front row seat in this. It's fast evolving. It's amazing. And that's why we've opened up AI categories in all 4 film festivals. I'm a surfer. I use this analogy all the time, and I know for a fact that the only way to catch a wave, and a good wave, is to be right on that wave or slightly ahead of it to have a great experience. And that's what we're doing here at ECU. So, that's what we're going to discuss with these 4 filmmakers today. And I'm very happy to welcome you all. I'd like to thank you very, very much for your time, every one of you, because I know that you'll probably be rather making a film than speaking to me. But first of all, I'm going to start with Louis Levy, who had a film with us this year at ECU called Summer 1990. Louis is a French filmmaker and creative technologist. That's a new one on me, based in Germany, crafting intimate atmospheric stories at the intersection of cinema and emerging tools, using AI as a sketchbook while keeping every creative choice deeply human. That's what I like to hear. Louis, how are you, man?
Yeah, thank you very much, Scott, for the invitation today and for the introduction. I think you've planted the scene very well, so I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about you as a technologist.
So I'm actually a hobbyist filmmaker, right? I've been doing that as an amateur. I've been doing a lot of music production as well, photography, but overall storytelling has always been a huge part of my life, right? I would say mostly for the past 20 years. Professionally, actually, I come from an engineering background. I do something completely different than that. I've always been fascinated by the power of emotion, the power of stories, whether it's in films, but also in music. This is, I get stories, I get emotions everywhere I can, basically. And I've always wanted to reproduce that, to try to bring my own inputs to this, right? With AI, I found a way now to explore some more ambitious ideas that I might have never been able to express otherwise by, due to some constraints, like you've said before, lack of time, lack of budget potentially. So it just allows me to express this in a fully independent way, not necessarily asking for permission, budget, or it's just allowing me to speed up a big part of the process. But I think that's not new, right? Independent filmmaking has always been about that. Right? It's always been about your trade-off between your ambition on one side and the resources on the other side. That's nothing new. And you have to compromise a lot of things. And AI has allowed to remove a lot of these barriers. So yeah, that's what I embraced since end of last year, I would say. And I've finally found a way to express some of the stories I had written some years ago, even. I've been experimenting through this when I realized end of last year that the tools, the technologies have been advanced enough to actually produce something meaningful. Actually became a challenge. I really wanted to see, okay, can I really make use of this technology to do something meaningful, something nice that people would actually enjoy? And so it became a challenge. I went down the rabbit hole, and I didn't stop there.
I heard you answer to a critic once that people like saying, "Oh yeah, but you're taking work away from people on set and doing this and doing that." And do you remember your response to that? Because I think that it was very well answered.
I forgot which one I said. Remind me.
Well, you said something like I didn't have the money or the time or
Oh
whatever to
yeah,
go to a filmmaking school.
yeah. That's true. So I have very little time. I have I have a full-time job, but as I said, that's engineering, nothing to do with this. With a family, and I just use the very limited amount of free time that I have the best way I can. And if AI wouldn't have been there, I would have probably not made this story, let's say. So it's just that the ideas are not worth it. It's just, it went from, can I afford to make this, to, oh, this idea is worth making it now. And for someone that's always been independent, that's a huge shift. It's a huge shift. It's a, and I think the EQ celebrates that very well, has always been for more than 20 years. And I was happy to see that AI became actually one of the categories since last year, or this year was the first one.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see that because, I'm very excited to see what people that have naturally a lot of talent have to say, never had access potentially to some means of production, never had access to, equipment or I've been facing barriers, and I'm excited to see all these stories that are probably really worth telling.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, we are all about storytelling, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to have to keep moving along a little bit, but I do want to talk about your film because I found it very interesting. Tell us a little bit about Summer 1990.
Okay, so Summer 1990 is, I would say, it's a film about memory, most of all. It's about childhood, nostalgia, and the way we remember moments from the past. I really wanted the audience to feel something familiar, very familiar, even though these memories are not actually theirs. So the film follows Nathan, who's a 35-year-old British man, and a single encounter on the London Tube breaks the routine that he has built for himself. And he sees a woman that resembles Nora, who's a girl that has defined one of his best summers of his life, and forces him to confront a past that he, abandoned kind of a long time ago. And so I wanted to make this short film with a dual timeline where we contrast the warmth and innocence of this friendship that happens during his adolescence when he's 18 years old in Provence, France, where it's very warm, very familiar, like I said. And I wanted to contrast that with the cold, more muted, maybe reality of London some years later. So that's what I wanted to express. I've made this movie because I've always had this, always stuck to my mind that you encounter people some time ago, especially in the 90s, during a summer vacation, and then there was a big chance that you'd actually never see these people again. There was no smartphone, there was no internet, really, so to speak. And I've always been fascinated by this, that you made great encounters and you'd never see someone ever again, but you kept these very strong, profound memories of this, and everything is brighter, more vibrant in your memories, right? That's really what I wanted to express here. But then, of course, I wrote the scenario to push that a little bit further, to have something interesting for the audience to watch.
Nice. Well, you achieved it very, very well, I have
Yeah.
to say.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that a lot.
Nice. Okay, we're going to move now on to Casey Eldridge, who is a Echo Alumni 2023, I believe. Casey's a filmmaker, producer, director, and editor based in London and creates films drawn to emotions. His works explore the uneasy, unspoken spaces between feeling and meaning, using film as a way to look closer at what that people would rather turn away from. He experiments with different film techniques in order to portray emotions in unique ways. How the heck are you, Casey?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm excellent, man. I'm always good. I've just become a qualified parachuter, so I'm the happiest man in the
Whoa.
world. You can't do that with AI yet.
Yeah, definitely not.
Casey, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, I'm a writer director. I just want to say I'm super excited to be here. This is a conversation that I've been trying to have with anyone who will listen. So it's just really exciting that I have a space to do that in, and with these great filmmakers as well. So I submitted my film to the 2023 festival there, and it won the audience award, which I was very happy with. And that was actually an AI film, but it was a few years ago. Like, the technology has developed so much in such a short time. The film I had there was like an experimental film. We were just getting to the stage there where you could sort of generate visuals that could hold like character consistency. But actually, I wanted to explore lack of control in this short film. So I had a live action video, and I exported all the individual frames, and then I put it into AI software, and sort of changed the amount of control the AI had over the images over the duration of the film. So you saw like this kind of effect where we started with a fully AI generated image and then went right down to the live action image. Yeah, it was experimental to just see what the visuals would turn out like and see if I could express the themes of the film that way. And yeah, that was my past film. I think now, in terms of AI, I've been playing around with like the new models, and it's just like insane what you can generate. As you saw with some of the visuals from Louis' ones, like they just look immaculate. I think for me, why I'm so interested in AI now is for like young filmmakers. We've started to see like social media as a real breakthrough way to build an audience and get this new kind of proof of concepts where you actually have your audience first. But I don't know if it's been accessible to all genres yet. So in the horror genre, obviously we've had two massive films recently, and they've been able to make them with these proof of concepts that were like found footage. But now with AI, we're getting into like maybe animation. We can make some proof of concepts and get them out quick enough for an audience on social media to be interested. And like science fiction. I don't know about like drama live action, but obviously again with technology, like everyone always says, like we've got phones now, so we've seen developments in all these different genres, and I think maybe AI is just opening up the field.
Amazing, Casey. I mean, yours film was one of the very, very first ones that we had go through here, and we didn't even have a category. And wow, I got some feedback from some of my staff who, including one that was on stage with me, who said to me at some stage when I was talking, she's like, "I'm going to have an argument with him." I'm like, "Shut up! No, you're not." But I think she was swayed. I think she was swayed. Amazing. Anyway, we're going to keep bouncing along as quick as we can because I do want to get into some other set questions. Next, we can go to Mark. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Wachholz. You can correct me. Director of Ceremony, which we had this year at ECU. Astonishing film. Born and raised in Berlin, Germany, Mark's background as a writer of novels, computer games, and TV shows for over 20 years strongly informs his work as an AI filmmaker. His stories are rooted in an interest in the power of narrative systems and storytelling in shaping society, culture, history, and identity. You definitely did that in the film that we played this year, Ceremony. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm actually in Seoul, Korea right now for another film festival. So yeah, very happy to be here.
Nice. Mark, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, as you said, I'm a writer, a screenwriter, a storyteller, and in this way, I think I'm a professional. But on the other hand, when it comes to creating movies myself, I never stood on a set. Really, I never directed anyone or set light or whatever you do on the set, except maybe for some amateurish teenage experiments back in the day. So yeah, for me, I always have cinema in my mind, but as a writer, I just write words and then wait for some people to understand what I'm up to and imagine or maybe getting some budget, and they never really do because I want to create big worlds and big stories and ambitious things. And with AI, I can do this. So I'm very committed to test or see how far we can go in live action. So I mean, animation, everything with AI is super easy, at least in terms of aesthetics. I think you still have to know about animation aesthetics, like rules and how or maybe have a taste for animation and experience. But live action, this is what I want to do, to see how far we can push AI there. And yeah, Ceremony was another step in this ladder, maybe in this journey, 6 months ago now. So in AI terms, it's already a past century. Yeah, but this is what I try to do in Ceremony.
Tell us a little bit about Ceremony. We'll play some clips over it, but tell me a little bit about it because I was astonished by it. So I congratulate you a great deal. But tell me a little bit about the genesis and how you went about making it.
Yeah, so the very genesis was that Google and the $1 billion or 1 billion followers summit made this AI contest where they gave the winner $1 million. So I said, "Oh, I want to participate," and it was clear I couldn't win because they said if you get only to the top five through public voting, so you need a lot of Instagram followers, which I don't have. But still, I wanted to test it to see how far I can go. But on the other hand, if someone gives $1 million to the winner, right? It's winner takes it all. Then you know it's not about just art or good stories. It's about branding. It's about yeah, getting somehow hooked into the system. And so I was wondering before I really had the story, how can I make a movie that if it would win, right? If it can't be captured that good or that well, by just the people who give you the money or who create this contest. So and then you start thinking about yeah, what you mentioned, systems and power and hierarchies and everything. And then this I had the story which I thought we were supposed to tell, I think, a positive outlook for the future, but I wanted to create a film that is not easy to like, oh, it has a happy end or there's certainly a message, but it can't be, yeah, resolved that easily, right? If you want to talk about the film, I hope this was at least my idea, then you have to talk about some uncomfortable things as well.
So there was not one single image in your film that was shot with a camera, right?
No, 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 no. I can't do this. And even if I could do it, I didn't have time because the deadline was so hard for me because I started late. I had to figure out, you had to use the Google tools because this was a sponsor and I wasn't really familiar with VO3 and Nano Banana. And I didn't like the look at first. So I had to spend 4 weeks to not only write the story, but also to learn the language of these different AI models because every AI model has a different language you talk to. And yeah, then I had 2 weeks to shoot the movie. But no, this is absolutely 100% AI. This is for all my films. This is what I would love to do, right? I don't want to shoot actors because I can do this. If I would team up with the traditional director, I would be happy to do this. But for me, I have these tools at my disposal. So, and in a way, it's also a challenge I like, right? How far can we push this technology to achieve this live action, not only look, but can we get emotions from the audience because they somehow can connect to these live action characters?
Well, I think that's
Which is funny in a way in ceremony because you have this animation mask, which kind of yeah circumvents this
well,
goal as well.
this is the thing that I say to all the filmmakers that I know and my staff and all that sort of stuff. And I use your film as an example. It's story first. And I think that's an important thing to always remember for all of us, even when we go and we shoot our films. But you know, we can make whiz bang stuff happen now. But the great thing about your film was there were layers and layers and layers of story. So it's my word of advice to everybody out there, as with anyone, whatever story you're going to tell, you know, whether it's a film, a drawing, or whatever, just make sure there's a good story as a basis. The spine of any good story needs a good story.
Yeah, that's hard enough, right? If the tools become even more proficient, then everything that is left is taste and story. So, because if you can create anything and everything, then what do you want to create, right? This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a hard question to answer, I think.
Well, and
Will
it's
become
also,
a very
you also use the right word. It's emotional. You know, we need to create emotion. We need to get relatability. So,
yeah.
Mark, great work. I'm going to move on to Dan. Dan,
Thank you.
Dan made a film about Casablanca, which was very interesting. Dan Moraes. Arnaldo had an idea and he went to
Yeah.
Casablanca. I was wondering why he went to Casablanca and not Marrakesh, which I much more prefer. But Dan, tell us a little bit about you, man.
Well, I'm from the industry. I've been a DOP, cinematographer for like 15 years. So I used to work on set, making films, crafting images. Um, but when AI came out, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool, right? You write a few words on a box, you hit a button, suddenly, you have an image." And it was all very bad at start. I mean, like 2 or 3 years ago, right? It was everything was almost unusable. But then the technology evolved, and the results starts to appear to like, hey, we can use this professionally. We can make a movie with this. And being from the industry, I've got a few backlash from coworkers and friends of mine, like, since like, oh, we're not gonna see you on sets anymore, what you gonna do, you're gonna be making AI films only. And a few ones got a little like, "You traitor, why are you doing this, you're betraying us." And then I always said to them, you know why I wake up to go to a movie set, to stay like 12 hours, 14 hours, 18 hours on a set? Because in the end, I want to craft an image and tell a story. It's the objective that matters. Of course, I learned to realize that objective through the craft, to the craft of creating image, like choosing the camera, the lens, the lighting, and I like all to do all this. It's very pleasurable. But in the end, the objective was to create images and tell stories. So the objective remains the same. The technique is changing, but at the same time, where I work in a company, so I do mostly advertising with AI. But we are now using real footage with AI, and we are achieving incredible results. So real cinema, real human-made, crafted by hand cinema, has a lot to win with AI. There's a lot of opportunities to create new kinds of language mixing, what we call hybrid film, right? Hybrid AI film. And but also there's this question. I mean, when you don't need a set, a camera, a crew, gear, and everything, you can create anything you can imagine, right? So it's a challenging time. People are mostly afraid of this, like, oh, they will end up all the jobs at the industry because everything's going to be made with AI, and then a time from now we don't even going to need the people who are doing AI, because AI going to do everything alone, so no one will be. Uh, and I don't know actually if that will be true or not. What I know is that the technology is here, is present, is here to stay. So we have to learn how to work with it and how to create with it to, well, to do what we would like to do, create, right?
I love that. You got to be in it to win it. You've got to see it, and the technology's there. And if you don't know how to use it, or you push it away, it's too far gone already. That door is open. But tell me a little bit about Arnaldo had an idea.
Arnaldo, it was like, there's a friend of mine, Ricardo. He co-directed this film with me, and he wrote that. But we were on a discussion about AI, and this all the polemics, the involving AI, and he talked like, I was speaking like what I just said. Today you can create a story that you wouldn't be able to shoot with real production, because you won't have the resources to do that. You can create it now. And then he said, I have this story that I wrote 15 years ago, and I never have been able to produce that. I've tried a few times, and I couldn't achieve I could gather the resources to make this film. But I have this story from 15 years ago. I said, show me. And then when he showed me, I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And this is so good to you to create with AI, because there is this narrative storyline with the voiceover speaking, and the images that the history portrays are so complex, intricate, full of details. This we can do this with AI now. We would never be able to tell this story without AI, and now we can do this. And I liked this story, but by the moment I read it, and I was like, I finished reading it, I gave back to him, and like, wait a minute, and start prompting like a first scene or the concept of the character, and then we start to realize, oh my God, this is possible, this is going to happen. And Arnaldo, and it's so good because Arnaldo is about that. You may have an idea, and how you're going to realize that idea. And in the film, well, to start, you have to record this idea, you have to register this idea somewhere before you lose the idea. And then the main character starts to go net searching frantically for a place to register this idea before it vanishes from his mind. And this is like we can always identify ourselves with this. Now we everyone who's a creator. Sometimes you have an idea and you are. I mean, sometimes I'm like sleeping and then I have an idea and I say, oh my God, just grab the font. And then you write like just a small pitch, a small sentence. And the next day when you wake up to read the idea, oh, I had an idea last night. Let me see whether, and then yeah, what I was trying to mean by this is like two sentences. I don't I wrote it down, but I don't know exactly what it means. So this thing about being a creator of ideas, of narratives, is that you're always pursuing these things that if you don't put your mind together to work with what you are imagining, you may lose it. And Arnaldo is a little about that.
I've woken up many mornings and looked at what I thought was so clear and so wonderful the night before, and I wrote it down and didn't make any. It was gobbledygook. Okay, you guys, I'm going to put you on to Rodrigo, who's the festival manager of all these crazy film festivals we run, and he's going to have a quick round of question and answers with the ECU crew. So it's over to you, Rodrigo.
Thank you, Scott. So our first question actually comes from Serena.
Hello, how are you, everybody? So my question was for Luis, and I actually wanted to ask you, what was the most unexpected moment during the making of the film, creatively or technically, and how do you see yourself, your use of AI evolving in your future films?
I just didn't hear acoustically speaking. What was the what moment? Sorry, can you repeat?
So, what was the most unexpected moment?
Oh, unexpected. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So the biggest challenge or most unexpected moment is actually it sits at the border between AI actually not making things easier necessarily. I think sometimes you can produce very quickly beautiful images, animate them very quickly, but then you quickly also realize that's not filming. That's not creating a movie. That's not creating, something meaningful, because what actually we've been talking about that a lot. What will transcript to people as something meaningful is rhythm, emotion, silence, also transition choices that you're making. So that was probably the most expected thing for me when I started using AI, is that I could get results really quickly, but I also had to, still steer it in the direction that I wanted to have it. That doesn't make it anything easier, actually. So I think that was the challenge, and the most unexpected thing was still keeping this consistency, the intention that I really had in mind. Like I said, I had this profound feeling that I wanted to express. Was I going to be able to really translate that into something meaningful with AI? Even though now, all of a sudden, just snap your finger, you have all these images, all these tools, everything. Yeah, so you have to step back, breathe, and then, come back to actually your intention initially. How I see myself, that was the second part of your question, for the future. At first, when I discovered what AI was able to do, so somewhere around last year, I was watching a lot of YouTube channels and I was fascinated by what they did. I had to go to the bottom of it. I had to try. I had to really create something as far as I could using AI. But I would say now that I've maybe checked that box, also slowing down a little bit more, I think I would like to use maybe what I'm able to create with AI as proof of concept to translate these into something maybe longer features, maybe more hybrid, where you actually do some traditional shooting with real actors, collaborate with someone who knows this craft, and maybe integrate AI for things that are more, replacing VFX, I would say, where you replace the environment, where you replace some, the weather or things like that. So I would like to go more in that direction in the future. But yeah, that's where I stand right now. I've always been still cautious with AI. I think, blind adoption is not necessarily good, the same way that blind rejection is not good either. I sit somewhere in the middle. So I'm very interested very quickly, and then step back, and I try to, understand where I can make the best use of it right now. Yeah, I hope it answers your question, Serena. But yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. It was really interesting.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Our next question comes from Pia.
Hi, thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. First of all, thank you that you joined this meeting. It was a pleasure having you here. So my question goes to Casey. So you already kind of mentioned earlier what AI means for the cinema landscape, but I still wanted to ask you what concerns, but at the same time fascinates you most about the growing use of AI in emotionally driven filmmaking? And what did Internal teach you about that in also your upcoming film? Because I saw something about Stain, which is coming soon.
Thank you very much for the question. So, to be honest, I'm more excited than concerned. I think, like Louis hit a really good point, where it's really easy to generate images, and like online you hear like this term AI slop all the time, because it is easy to generate stuff. But to generate stuff that really captures emotion and like really we could consider art in the same way as filmmaking and tells a story is quite difficult, you know. So you know, playing around with those tools, like I think once you actually try it and get into it, it's not as easy to create something meaningful maybe as like people assume it is. But I'm really excited because it's almost like a collage format where I'm just thinking, like for the initial images before we create video, there's so much you can do. You can draw, you can use like your photography, you can use like video references, and you can pull all this stuff that you've really created in the real world and use that to help create those images that you want to show. And again, also I mentioned it before, like at all stages of filmmaking, I think you got people like Zach London, who he's just created quite a famous AI short film recently. But like I've been watching him for the last few years on Instagram. He sort of like reverse engineers it where he does his world building through short form. So he'll have these little character moments and he'll build up these characters and this whole world through short form, and then he's created this short film based on it. It's already got an audience who like the world. He's checked the concept, and then he can bring that into a longer form, more meaningful format like filmmaking, which I think is like really cool and is a way that us as filmmakers can reach a modern audience on short form platforms. And then, sorry, what was the last end of your question?
It was what internal tips taught you, what you're gonna or what you adapted to your upcoming film.
Yeah, so Stain was like an extension of internal, where I saw, okay, this techniques work in an experimental sense, and I had a script that was also about loss of control. So it was like, can I use this in a longer story where I want to show like the loss of control, like going up, going down, like that rhythm. So it was like an extension of that experiment, but in those few years, like AI is just like whoosh. So now those techniques are like pretty outdated, and I'm kind of like thinking about the next thing now, you know, trying to keep up and just like enjoying the excitement of this change. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Valeria.
Hi, nice to meet you, everybody. So my question is for Mark. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So my question is, what did you want the audience to feel after watching your film, and which exactly emotion did you most want audiences to leave the film with?
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think in terms of emotions, what I want to plant as emotions into the audience, more like a thought process. I think to engage people into the thought process, you have to emotionalize them, right? To really care about the characters and really like be attached to them. But I don't presume, I think, a specific emotion. Maybe some people will say they have sympathy for the girl. Others, I've heard they were very, this is a strange girl. Her demands, this is like, she's a bit uncanny, right? I don't know how to feel about her. And I really like this because it shows the engagement is real, but the people can still choose how they feel about this character or the whole setup. So I think there is certainly uh, a sentiment of children empowerment in the movie. I hope this is felt, if this is an emotion, but that you feel somehow attached to this goal or this outlook of, hey, maybe we should give children more power because they don't have a lobby, right? They are the big group that don't have really a lobby in this world. But the whole society pretends that, no, we do this for the children. Everything we do for the children. And the character questions this a lot. So I would say, yeah, I hope that through whatever emotion you have. You kind of reflect those emotions and then translate them into more of a thought process. Hey, what's going on here? What's the theme of the story, or what is my what is my perspective on this specific issue? And if people are left with an either or even uncanny feeling, I'm pretty happy. So I want my stories to be placed in a very liminal space where you don't really know this is positive or this is negative, but you keep bouncing between these things in your mind or maybe in your heart. And that's why this is what keeps it alive, right? This is where discourse starts, I hope.
Yeah, thanks. That's interesting. Thanks for your answer.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank you. And our last question comes from Theo.
Yes. Hello, Daniel. I wanted to know, as AI inspires itself from real creations and other films, like how do you think a director can still be creative by using AI, which is undoubtedly uses others' creation to make films, and how to still be innovative with that.
That's a good question, because how you create innovative language, cinematic language, if AI is based on pre-existent language, right? And I don't know if we're talking about I don't know if we're talking about create a new language with AI, but when you talk about create a story, and it's an original story, then it's completely possible, right? Because really, when you prompt, at least for something that's 100% AI, you prompt references, what you think that the image grain should be, what kind of lenses, what kind of camera, what kind of colors. So you are using what came before. You are referencing what you know about film, what you know about photography. So it's hard to come up with something new and unique in the sense of the aesthetic of the image, but of the history of the story. I guess the story is the thing that can make what you do with AI original. I guess that's at least, I don't know if it answers your question, but it's what I understood about it. I don't know.
Yes, it partly answered my questions. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going back to you, Scott.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much to the ECU crew, and also to the filmmakers for asking those sort of questions on the fly. It's not always easy to do that, so I appreciate that very much. We're going to keep for another 10 minutes or so, but I did want to ask some tech questions, because we've talked about, crafting images and doing that sort of stuff, but I'm going to bounce around you four guys. And just to, again, there's a lot of people out there watching this going, oh, great, how do I do this? So they're going to use AI to try and figure out what AI tools do you use. But Dan, why don't we start with you? What's your go-to?
Well, nowadays is Seedance 2.0. I guess this is the most favorite tool for everyone. It has a prompt consistency, adherence of the what you're trying to choose to make it do, right? You can use a lot of references, many images, videos, audios. It's a really smart model. And of course, not only Seedance, but because you know that other models have stronger capabilities. You have to know which one suits you better. To create the images, you have the Midjourney. It's kind of unique. What it does is aesthetically, but you also have other models like Banana, that are very good of understanding what you want. So you have to make a balance between what you want to do, and where you want to create. but mostly Seedance 2.0 and Kling 3.0, and Suno 11 Labs to create now the soundtracks, the score, the sound effects, the voiceovers. So now these tools mainly. A few times, just a little time ago, it was more tools, but this new model came to simplify stuff, which is the objective in the end, right? If we were talking about making things without needing so many resources and all, this model is the one to use.
Excellent. Casey?
Yeah, so I use different tools for different stages. So I start with writing. So before I start generating, I like to have like script locked in. I like to have detailed character descriptions and really spend a lot of time in that stage. From there, I'll generate some imagery of the characters, usually using Midjourney to get the initial images. And then I've actually been using ChatGPT for like creating character sheets because it's quite good at creating that character consistency. From there, then I'll usually create like the keyframes of a storyboard. Sorry, I missed this step. I usually shot list before I create those keyframes. Again, I've been having a lot of luck with like ChatGPT. I can't get Nano Banana to work for me for some reason. It just kind of like cleans everything up a bit too much. So I need to play around a bit more with that. And then from that, I use that in Seedance. I use like the start frame tool to generate the movement of the image from there.
Excellent. Luis?
So likewise, I use very different tools. Everything that was mentioned here so far are commercial tools, but I also, I don't want to repeat too much what's been said. I've been using VO, I've been using Nano Banana, Midjourney as well. There is still a very interesting space of open source models that, if you're interested in, without necessarily paying a big subscription fee, you can use Stable Diffusion or Comfy UI. These are open source free tools that you can install. I actually started with this years ago before anything was really commercialized with this. And then there is a huge library of models that you can browse through and just experiment with this on your own computer. Yeah. So that's also something that I think is interesting to use at the beginning. The commercial tools are very powerful, like we've said, but they also have this trend indeed that I think a lot of us have noticed here is tend to get formatted more and more and more into something that fits a certain aesthetic, maybe to the exception of Midjourney, indeed, where you can push the weirdness out of it a little bit more than the others. But yeah, I think there's also a space for open source models that can run on your computer. And it's a great way to experiment. Something that I've also had the pleasure to try out is, I do a lot of argentic photography, analog photography, and to maybe also answer Theo's question before partly, is that try to use that as well. You don't need to generate the images necessarily inside the tool. Use AI to animate photographies that you actually make with your analog camera. That's also, and it will keep a certain aesthetic to this. It will keep the film grain that you actually get from your analog camera. This is also fascinating, right? So I sit a bit everywhere, I would say. For summer 1990, it was mostly actually Nano Banana and VO that I've used for the images.
Right. Mark?
Yeah, I just use the same tools. I think the other part of the question was how do I get started, right? It's not only because if you tell people, hey, these are all the tools, they're already overwhelmed. So I recently teamed up with, I was in Shanghai and they had this kind of workshop where they teamed up AI creators with traditional filmmakers who didn't really know about AI. And this was a very crazy, cool experience because like within an hour you can show someone how to make an AI movie. And the way I would do it is just get an very low cost Midjourney account and just create images. just create them. They also have a video tool, maybe animate them, but just push into whatever aesthetic you like. Just create this, prompt something, see how it feels when you create something with words. This is the first step I would take, and then animate it. And maybe in Midjourney just to test it, or maybe use Seedance. It's very expensive, but it's the best model on a different platform. But that's already another step, right? So yeah, my first step would be get the feeling, how it feels when you prompt something and an image emerges, and then animate it and maybe have a 30-second clip or a 20-second clip, something that moves, and see how it feels. And then you will, I think, immediately feel in which direction you want to push. And Midjourney is very good at it because it has the biggest aesthetic range. They have a lot of tools to show you how specific aesthetics look like, even if you don't have words for them, right? They can push you into different coordinates of the latent space to see aesthetics you couldn't even describe with words. And then you will find your way, and you will get inspired. And this is also because I like the technique of AI co-creation, so to involve AI into your creative process. And Midjourney is very good at this. Seedance as a video model is also very good at this, because you can just prompt very crazy stuff, and it somehow wants to make something interesting, something cinematic, and Midjourney as well. It wants to create something interesting or beautiful. And then you will feel if it resonates with you, and hopefully you create the next masterpiece.
Well, that's amazing advice from you four guys. And I was sort of going to ask for that, advice, but like anything, writing a story or riding a bike or jumping out of an airplane, you just need to do it. And I think that's the big takeaway from this. I'm very analog. I've been writing notes as we go. I still beg my staff to write notes because there's nothing better than doing this when you're finished. I love this podcast, guys. Thank you for coming. And you know why? Because there was excitement there. I think you guys can be honestly looked on as trailblazers, and so it warms my tiny little dark heart to see you talking to us, explaining the process, because you guys know better than we do, because you're at the sharp end of the stick. It's changing by the second. So and we're very glad that you've grabbed the bull by the horns and are running around with it. Excitement palpable for me, this conversation. I like the idea of open source, and I'm going to recommend that to the staff, I think, as well, because there is a cost involved. I use this in my work, and there is a cost involved. And while you're messing things up, it's better to be messing things up when you're not paying credits all the time. Crafting images, I'm a DP. I shot a film that won an Oscar. I like crafting images, but I think that what you guys are doing is incredible in that. I particularly like blind adoption versus blind rejection. It looks like you guys have hit the sweet spot. I could have very easily at all of our 4 film festivals said no. I'm a purist. I am a purist at heart, but look at the amazing stuff that's happening, and it's all about telling stories. The stories are the fabric of our soul, and they're going to be told by AI or by drawing or whatever. So that's amazing. The objective's the same, telling stories and creating emotion. It's just the technology is changing. So I also love that. So I think we've all got a lot to go away and think about it, me in particular, because I do use this in my professional life, and we run 4 film festivals, and I'm seeing things that are, we are literally at ECU here, and the 4 film festivals we're at the front seat, where we're going, wow, this is a crazy ride. So I thank you very much. I look forward to it, as Rodrigo's explained, that, when you're a part of ECU, you're a part of ECU. We'll be asking you to come along as submission judges for the next generation of the next year's thing. So please come along and watch the films. Be fiercely critical if you need to be, but also abusively happy when they hit the ball out of the park. So I'd like to thank Rodrigo, Pia, who's left us, but thankfully help set this up. All of the staff. Have a great weekend, everybody. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.